a Jewish tradition, SCHMITDA or DTA, Shemitah. It's like a 49-year cycle, so it's a pretty big, it's like
Wow.
the 70th one, 70th 49-year cycle.
The 70th 49-year cycle. I have to do the math now that you've put some numbers out there.
3,500 years about, yeah.
Wow.
It's a long process.
Long tradition.
Yeah.
All right, welcome everybody. Can you hear me okay? I have the AirPods in now.
Yeah, you sound good, Josh.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm a little bit out of my normal element. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we have a post in the Telegram group, and if anyone has any Q&A, we can begin. There's several things to discuss. I thought something that you just posted recently, Matt, was actually a pretty good topic for discussion today. I don't know if you want to give people a primer who may not have seen it, but it was related to a tweet from Daniel Larimer, and maybe Gregory also wants to chime in on this. He shared a little bit with me about what he's been working on in the background in regards to the new Fractal contributor agreement, among other things. And I think both of you gentlemen have some pretty good insight to kick off some discussion if you'd like.
What Josh is referring to is I'll do a little bit of setup and then pass the baton to Gregory, who can give us the whatever insight that he's capable of right now, because it's still a work in progress. But Dan Larimer posted a link to an article that I think is worth reading. I found it interesting. I posted it to the Telegram group last night. But it basically has to do, so the CFTC, which is the regulating body for kind of our space, they're kind of more focusing on tokens and people exchanging things with one another. And this is the first known time that I'm aware of, I think Dan was aware of, that a DAO, a decentralized autonomous community, was sued by the CFTC. The token holders, so not just the founders, but anybody holding the tokens was also sued. And so thankfully, Ƒractal, as a part of their engineering architecture, is also engineering a very sophisticated legal architecture for our benefit, right? To make sure that it's very clear what we're doing, who's responsible for what. And they've spent an incredible amount of time. I know Gregory has, like, a lot of lawyers are being paid a lot of money on our behalf to be able to really think through all these nuanced issues. So that article is worth reading, because we don't want that to be our fate. Gregory, can you give any more color for us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in this particular case, the CFTC first went after the developers of the open source software. So imagine you're just writing software, and the CFTC goes to the founders and suggests to them that they're going to be sued. Now, what ended up happening in that particular phase of this suit is they settled out of court and paid a fine for writing that open source software. So this has been frowned upon by a number of groups, especially in the open source software community. They don't understand where the CFTC has the right to do so, since they only wrote the software in this case. Then after that, once the software was released open source, a DAO was formed, and the CFTC suggests that once that was done, the name was changed in order to skirt liability, and that's not really how things went. But it's all a matter of interpretation. So then they went after the members of the DAO, and then proceeded to open a lawsuit with them as well. So this is still all being reviewed and tested. A number of people, even within the FTC, don't agree with this position that's taken. They feel that they've overstepped bounds, that they don't have rights to do so, but here we are today. So two different matters within the same article. One, the developers were sued and they settled. I don't know what precedence that establishes. And B, the DAO has an open lawsuit with the CFTC. So this presents a number of challenges with regards to what these folks relied on. Now, how did this all happen? What exactly happened? Well, in this particular DAO, people invested money. They actually put money within the DAO and felt that because the DAO was created, keys were lost by, I think they used a third-party provider. As a result, money was lost, and then the CFTC was brought in to investigate this matter. So there is this lawsuit going on, and I understand why people are upset, especially those that invested money into this DAO. Now, Fractally, we do things differently. We're not asking for any investment from anyone. We're not dealing in property. This matter only came to bear just a few days ago, and I'm waiting for an opinion from our legal teams with regards to how this might impact us. It's not enough, it's one thing to skirt the legal issues and provide interpretation on your own. The CFTC will, or any agency, will take a look at whatever you're doing, and they'll interpret it however they want to, unfortunately. And this is where I think it's important that you define up front, you be as explicit as possible as to what you're doing, what is allowed, what your structure is, how you operate, and provide as much transparency as possible. I don't know what happened in the case with this particular suit, except that the B0X folks made a few mistakes here. And whoever they released the open source software to, and whoever had lost these keys and negatively impacted investors, well, it's upset a lot of people, obviously. So this is not something that is easy to do from not only a development standpoint, creating something decentralized, but also from a regulatory standpoint. There are many ways that this can be managed, and we're trying to keep an open mind and get as much insight as possible in order to ensure that we're operating in such a way that makes sense and doesn't make us a target. There are a number of other DAOs out there operating. They have not been approached. This is the first, so it'll be interesting to see what the future holds. Hopefully by next week, once the legal teams have gotten back to me with more information, I'll be able to provide you more insight beyond what the trades are showing. In fact, if you look at media now, some articles are just looking at the narrow scope of the actions of the FTC. Others have gone in more deeply and have done more in-depth interviews, providing more insight as to what occurred and what happened. Take some time and take a look at it. Just look up the keyword CFTC, look up B0X platform, and read all you can on it. And I look forward to the community's feedback on this. Any insight or information that you have. I know we have even a couple of lawyers that are members of our group here, or I know of one at least. And if they have some insight, let's talk.
Daniel, you have your hand up?
Yes, just a couple of thumbs up if you can hear me.
Disconnect.
All right. All right. Thanks. A question to Gregory. You mentioned that this this fractally genesis group. I'm lacking of words. Sometimes English is not my first language, but this terms of services with fractally genesis does not include physical property. Can you confirm and elaborate a little more on what are the terms of services? What are the terms and conditions? Thanks.
Sure. So there are 3 documents that I'm actively working on. One is the terms of service, one is the privacy policy, and one is the UNA, which is the unincorporated nonprofit association. One of the things you'll notice in the CFTC's notice is that they refer to the DAO as in an unincorporated association. They do not refer to the word nonprofit. Nonprofits are allowed to hold property. We are not holding any property, if you will, as individuals. There is a community-based token which can be assigned to based on the judgment or consensus of the community. Here we are meeting every week, and we're gaining respect as a result of it. But you don't hold it as an individual. So what we say here is there is no property involved. We're not dealing with anything that you can hold or is directly assigned to you, in essence. This is something that is held by the community. So there is no one single individual. Like in Bitcoin, and again, there's an interpretation as to is it an asset, is it a property, which offers confusion. You have the IRS giving one definition, and you have other government agencies giving a different definition for Bitcoin, which offers confusion. We explicitly state, and we define that we hold no property, that no one can represent themselves as the Fractally DAO. We are simply members within a community or a group, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's no different than, say, a social club or any kind of membership group. The whole purpose of the UNA, in essence, which isn't quite a terms of service. There are the UNA agreement does provide some things that are defined in normal terms of service, you can or can't do, what you should expect, what you shouldn't expect. Ultimately on these websites where you have just a terms of service, it describes information that defines what you can or can't expect with regards to a website. Well, we have to go beyond that because you're not just interacting with web pages. You're not giving your email address, your first name, your last name, things that would be covered by a privacy policy. You're interacting with others. And so things like, in terms of service may have things like, for example, you will not upload copyright material, you will not upload pornography, you will not, things that, one would consider common sense or moral judgments. Further, there may be some sort of rule sets within the website as to what you can or can't post. When it comes to how we practice governance, the UNA adds additional information and rules with regards to our participation in the weekly meetings, what's expected. The averaging rule, the 6-week averaging rule, that you have to participate at least once in a 12-week window. The issuance of respect against this emittance that goes on a weekly basis. When we emit these tokens, how it's split up between members and teams. And so the UNA is designed to define these things clearly, to promote a common understanding amongst all members so that we provide a significant level of transparency. I know that's kind of a roundabout of answering your question with regards to terms of service, but we're still trying to figure all this out now that this case has come out. And our goal is to limit the liability footprint that developers, a DAO, and the community might face in those regards. Yes, Lenny.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I saw an article 1 or 2 days ago that was linked in one of our groups, and I read that one quite thoroughly. Not so much today's article that was linked and similar, so I'm not sure if it was covered on the jurisdiction part. That the same organization, this CFTC, actually had snuck in to paperwork. I'm not sure if it's this case, but in the paperwork, preparatory work, that number of nodes that channel through tokens in the end, and similarly, majority or significant part were based in American territories, and thereby they can prosecute. It was not part of a judge or jury or similar. It was in the preparatory, but it could, of course, be used as a precedent in future. And it's just something to keep in mind when we talk block producers and whatever, that's a big, they managed to squeeze that if Ethereum stuff would actually be jurisdiction in the States.
Yeah, it's jurisdiction and where you're domiciled and where this is developed and where this is used and where this is practiced.
Very vague.
Yeah, no, of course, and so there's lots of different things that one can do. Does one move outside the U.S. jurisdiction and create this in some other country or small island, or does one, but see that there are issues with that. Okay, so one of the things that the lawsuit said is that, of course, that these people did this within the bounds of the U.S. Regardless of it being worldwide, it was developed in the U.S. It was launched in the U.S. In our case, ƒractal is in Texas. But what was fortuitous for us in the case of the UNA is that the UNA is actively used within 18 states, Texas being one of them. And it is there in Texas where we're established, where we develop the code, and from where all this begins. There's a book called The Network State, full of some interesting thought processes where they talk about, well, where truly is domicile? What does that mean when you're talking about a virtual network? Are there physical states, property, if you will? Here in the U.S. we have all these 50 states that we're in, or is there a network state where communities are coming together from, regardless of where they are physically located? Is there a network state where these communities exist in a more virtual fashion? So while there are a fair amount of controversy in the book, and certain claims are being made here which are fairly challenging and I don't think addressed in the book, it does open up a question: is what that means. What does domicile mean on a web or on a cloud when a number of people engaging with such exists? Look, the point and purpose of these agencies is to protect the consumer, to protect the American public. The question is, how far have they gone in potentially overstepping bounds, in trying to interpret old traditional laws that worked old traditional ways into new ways? It's no different than we all used to have landline phones. There was no such thing as a mobile phone at some point in time. And laws had to change and regulation had to change when phones became disconnected from wires. You could take a mobile phone anywhere in the US, not just within one place that you purchased. So there's a fair amount of back and forth between governance, regulatory agencies, companies, these corporations and stuff, or big tech. And big tech has, made some inroads into helping to reshape and redefine regulation. The question is, where's the rest of us in all of this? One of the reasons why we are practicing fractally is because those visions and values are coming from state agencies that aren't in touch, or big tech, which isn't in touch. So the community itself needs to get together, needs to define governance. It is the better way, because that's where vision and values should be coming from the community. Again, there was no internet until 20, 30 years ago. There was no method, and so a representative democracy was needed, where you vote for someone, you hope that they represent your the community's opinion. But here we are, where representatives are in office for 2 to 4 years. They may be career politicians, if you will, and they're not really representing us. They are representing what maybe their own opinion is for a lengthy period of time. Again, with a fractally based system, you don't have that incumbent advantage and gerrymandering. You don't have voter fatigue. You have true engagement from the community, sharing its visions and values, and percolating up individuals that would come into some council, all from the community, that would help make decisions. So this is all, steeped in why fractals are being, created, in essence, at some point in the future. Why we practice this, because this is a better way of managing governance. But there's still a lot of open questions. This is a very new frontier. There's a manifest destiny of effort and involvement from not just the fractally team, from everyone, to help secure that future.
Well said, Gregory. And I'll just highlight, remember, this ties back to our mission, right? The Genesis Fractals mission, and fractals in general. It's in the creation of public goods and services where there is no property owned by our organization. Zero. There's no property, none at all. So, for example, I operate the dashboard. That's my own thing, right? I do that as a public service, and I bring it to you, and you guys either value what I do or you don't. And I course correct based on what you want me to do in the creation of a public good or service. So that's how we roll, is just trying to help one another with the belief that we're stronger together than we are individually, and that we can't do it all on our own.
Thank you, Matt. And we all appreciate that contribution. For me and Joshua, as we manage the tally sheet, that dashboard and the work that you do helps to validate the information that we manage independently, and ensures that it offers an audit, if you will. At some point, when all this comes into code and there's an actual blockchain, I'm sure people can generate a number of different tools to look at the blockchain and present data to everyone. Just recently, I got a message from Chacruz, who would like to be able to publish some data in a Telegram channel. And so I've provided him access to the tally sheet so that he could continue developing that tool. And Matt has reached out to him for insight and code that's available, so that he could do so as well. This is it's great that the community is involved and actively participating in all these ways. So there is a largely unknown future, but at the same time, there is a truth to be told. There's a visible truth that we feel shouldn't be behind secret meetings, shouldn't be behind reinterpreted definitions. we have these open forums with which to discuss, share knowledge, and come to consensus with regards to what we feel is, and subjectively, and we don't get it right every meeting, but what we value most highly. And when we start generating the code to open source, and people look at that and then they can create their own fractals, I'm sure there are a number of public goods and services that people will be able to develop and create their communities, and thus those communities can reflect the value of the things that are being created. So this represents a really exciting future, but again, not like anything else, with its challenges.
All right, we're going to go into our breakout rooms in about 15 minutes. We've got time for just a couple more questions. And yeah, let's get ready to fractal. Thanks for giving us a lot on this topic, Gregory. Really appreciate it. I still think the Fractal Contributor Agreement might be a contender for the most valuable contribution so far.
Thank you.
That's a good reminder to make sure everyone on the call, please make sure that you know what Josh is talking about and that you've signed the contributor agreement before we enter the breakout rooms in a few minutes. Patrick, you have your hand up?
Yeah. What I want to ask here, more than to accept the contributor agreement, I think it's also very important to know where we are going, because seems to be that we already discussed of all what you have addressed, Gregory. I am very respectful for all the work that you are doing. At the same time, I want to know more with the Texas DAO, because that was a subject that we have addressed before August 6th. And since then, there was some, what I call diversion. Don't take that harsh, but for me, it's a kind of diversion that we have living since August 6th. And we were not going back to the ground, because there is an article, what is a DAC? And into this article, what is a DAC? This is explained, I have put into the chat. It is explained that we have not to rely on external properties. That sounds very beautiful. So for me, what is most important now, it's where are we going, and some milestones also, because I think we are repeating week after week the same narrative. And that's my opinion. Don't take that for granted for all. I say what I mean, I speak the truth. That's the most important point. You can agree to all the paper that you want. If you are not playing the game in the good way, respect the people, their contribution, and be good lions, not sheep. The paper, that doesn't mean a lot, sorry. And I see someone laughing to my words. Joshua, thank you. But I want to say, you can make all the paper that you want. That will never change what you have into your heart, your soul, and your mind. And I am experiencing that a couple of days ago with Maurice Vanegas doing the interview. That's the contribution of my week. Maurice is not a cheater. So we don't want to see cheaters into this ecosystem. So for me, Fractally, it's the place where the people are educated, they are sharing their contribution, and the papers, sorry, it's for the toilet. So I prefer to see something coming on with the UNA and all this stuff, because I was reading a lot about this UNA. That's very complicated things. That's not easy, and certainly not in US with all the regulation that you have. And about the democratics, like said Pascal, there are some democratic countries. I am based in Switzerland. It's a false democratic country. It's a bull country. It's where all is flowing. The bad, the good, you have all into this country, Switzerland, Disneyland. Okay, so that's just a bull. So that's just words. That's just papers. That's not good intent. So I hope here we have good intent and also good action and delivery, because intent alone, it's not enough. As I jumped in, I am a warrior, a spirit warrior, and I am not a lion with. I am a good lion, and I want to see something good happening into this fractally. And I will be here when I jump in. It's because I want to participate. I take my time, and I don't come here to be an hypocrite. I speak the truth.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Patrick.
Patrick.
You know, one of the things that the First Amendment to the Constitution has is, you know, in there, the freedom of speech. The second thing that's in there within that amendment that we all need to be aware of is that we have the freedom of assembly. That's exactly what we're doing here. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. Those are very powerful as part of the First Amendment, and that is what we're practicing.
Paul, looks like you have your hand up.
Thank you. So I just wanted to try to educate myself, and if I could give like a 1-minute description of how I would explain something, and then get some clarification and you know, help me understand what I don't understand about. So if I was speaking to somebody that I wanted to support a fractal that I was part of, and join the team, join the fractal, to do some public good that was powerful, and they had some time to invest, and I was trying to explain that I didn't have the resources to, or the team didn't have the resources to give them dollars, but that they would be gaining respect. That's what I would explain. I would explain that they would be earning respect, and that sometime in the future, the effort they put in, their time, would result in a collection of respect, and that would have some value that they could use to pay their rent or feed themselves in the future. And then if they ask, well, where will that liquidity or value come from? And I was stuck. I didn't know if I had explained it so far accurately, and where that value would come from. So I hope that my question is clear, but.
Yes, and this is something that I would, you know, there's a reference to this in the Fractally white paper. It refers to Bancor relays and how that respect could be converted, but these are third party, not directly managed or related to the fractal, if you will. And I don't have all the answers with that. That might be something that Daniel Larimer might be able to better describe to the community.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
Cool. I just wanted to jump on real quick and piggyback on that question, because I just have some thoughts about it. I guess, like, where does the value of Bitcoin come from is maybe a good question. Like, why do people value Bitcoin if it's a so it's basically like a community currency, or it's the way that a group of people choose to interact with each other, and then they value it based on its monetary properties or its economic properties. Asking where does why is it valuable? I've been thinking about it kind of in the reverse, which is it's as valuable as the community's respect is valuable. So if a community is offering services that people want, and in order to attain those services, you require the respect of the community, then that's a demand side of the community respect. So yeah, I'm not saying anything more or new really, or anything more than just supply and demand, but the value is going to be driven by the demand of the respect, and the demand for the respect is going to come from the robustness of the community, and how valuable the community really is in real life. What is the community doing to enhance the lives of its members and of the world? So that's like the way I see the relationship from community respect to value.
Yeah, thank you, James. All right, guys, 5 minutes and we're going into our rooms. Any final comments on this subject? And Paul, do you want to chime back in? Do you feel like you got a somewhat answer to your question? Do you have a follow-up?
I see Thomas has his hand up.
Okay.
How you guys doing? In regards to the CFTC going after the DAO and what Gregory was mentioning, the First and Second Amendments, I just wanted to bring to light the 10th Amendment also and how important that is. And essentially it's, any power not specifically given to the federal government's reserved to the states. So, why an example of its relevancy is Quintric has seized on states' rights movements and specifically legal tender laws in a handful of states. And just kind of want to bring to everyone's consciousness the 10th Amendment. I think we should all be supporters of it, because as we're building this parallel society, we want to also, support things that will be conducive to our growth, and decentralizing power and being in favor of the 10th Amendment, understanding it, advocating for it, and utilizing it, I think is should be a part of our culture. And I think it's crucial to know and talk about it. That's it.
I like that word you use, Thomas, parallel society. I think that's a really fitting term for what we're doing here.
Yep.
Take it away, Matt.
Following up on what Thomas said, I think it all starts with for me, it all starts with reading Dan Larimer's book, More Equal Animals, and understanding it thoroughly. I have read that book dozens of times, and I still get something out of it every time I go through it. It's pretty dense, and the concepts they're simple once you understand them. But my whole life, I've been programmed with one way of thinking, and sort of, finding that new perspective is a challenge. And I get it by reading that book and discussing it with you and with others. And part of that understanding is what the Bill of Rights is. You can't read More Equal Animals without understanding what the Bill of Rights is, memorizing what they are, but then really trying to understand what they mean, which is what Thomas, I think, was getting at as well. So you need the book, you need More Equal Animals, and you need some supplementary material kind of on your desk to be able to really understand and absorb. I think that the brilliant insight that Dan has had. I mean, it really is in my opinion, it's a genuine discovery. It's like on par with anything else that's newly discovered. And you're trying to communicate that idea to people who don't understand it, and it takes time to really, really try to understand what's going on here and why it matters.
Also, I should mention, we have a group on Mondays in the afternoon, if you're in the Americas, that time zone, that meets in the course section of the gofractally.com site, and the title of the event in there is Unpacking More Equal Animals. And we're just getting started, but we're diving into that book, and I think we're just going to keep that going. We'll go through the whole book each week, piece by piece, and then we'll cycle back through it again. So anyone here is welcome to attend, and hopefully those kind of meetings are going to be good ones to refer new people to, who are, just getting, as a way of getting them interested in what we're doing. I think what Matt's alluding to is, if you really if you really get into more equal animals, you become a perfect candidate for this Genesis fractal. Okay, it's almost time for our breakout rooms. I think we'll just wait for the minute to change for any last people to jump on. And Matt is going to do the honors today. Okay, Matt, if you want, you can make sure we have 5 to 6 people in the room.
Roger that. And I'm hitting create now.
And then you'll have to open the room after that.
Okay.
All right, guys, we'll see you back in about 45 minutes.
Hello, everybody.
Just waiting for others to join here, so give just a few more minutes.
Sounds good.
Hey, Dan, Daniel, Koja.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Koja, your camera looks really good. Is this a new camera? No? Okay.
I think you're muted right now, Koja.
Are you
You're
muted?
muted.
Yeah, just I changed the light. That's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah, looks good.
Yep, it does. By the way, well, actually, I was going to wait till somebody came, and they're taking a long time to come, whoever this 5th or 6th person is.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Joshua and let him know.
Okay.
I think this was room 6.
Okay, sounds good.
We only have 4 in our group. We only have 4 as well. That was from Thomas.
Okay, yeah, maybe Matt did it wrong because it's Matt's first time, and he didn't click the button right. Maybe, I don't know.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know. Now, this is something that I have to delve into and I guess learn myself. I did see the breakout rooms thing, but I didn't want to click on it and cause havoc. So, oh, we have 5 now. Okay, so they're probably okay. Okay, good. Let's see, Telegram.
I only see 4. Everyone sees 4 or 5.
Yeah, we all see 4. I was talking with regards to another group.
If you're co-host, Gregory, then you can click the breakout rooms button and be able to see it without causing havoc.
Ah, okay.
In the meantime, since I'm newly meeting Koja,
Right.
It's first time.
hello. If you
Well-
could introduce yourself, I would appreciate hearing you out. The mic is yours.
Okay, my name is Abdurrahman Hoja, nickname Hoja. My most contribution for Fractal is making bots, Telegram bots. I'm from Uzbekistan, 17 years old, freshman in university, computer science, and probably that's all.
Nice meeting you, Koja. I have a friend of mine in Canada that I helped who immigrated here in Canada, who was from Uzbekistan. I've seen so many beautiful pictures of your country. So welcome.
Thank you.
I guess we're the only group of 4, and I'm looking at the breakouts. Thank you, Dan. I didn't want to cause issue here, but I see the rooms. There's no way to take the 5s, the 2 5s there, and make it. It's just going to work out this way. There's just 4 of us here, so I guess we'll proceed. Who wants to go first?
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to say that recording, I think everybody can see it from the top left and what they said, but I just want to make everybody aware of that. plan to share at some point.
Okay.
I don't know if you're trying to say something there, Daniel, but I think you are muted.
Are you asking me to start? So
Yeah, well, whoever wants to start. Who wants to?
Okay, I'll start since my mic is opened.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Because there's too many Daniels in this whole community, you can refer to me as Dan 1 a.m. because I'm a night guy. I'm very productive at night. I live in Montreal. So briefly, so that I also put to speed Koja as to the process we're following, since you mentioned that you're a newcomer, and I've been there, I'm still there. I consider myself a newbie. Unfortunately, I'm still learning a lot. However, when we have small breakout rooms like this, we're voting for number 1, 2, and 3, who will go in the second round. And we will do this vote by, first of all, creating a little post before we submit it in the chat room, whereby we put our hashtag, our avatar at ready to send on the chat room. When we're ready, we just lift our thumb, and then Gregory, who is the most respected person that I admire for all the work he's doing, will give us the count if he chooses to, or Dan, not me. And then we just push our 4 choices of 1, 2, and 3, and the choice of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 is based on our contribution to the Fractally Genesis group. There's a difference. There are different Fractally groups. We're here about Genesis group, the group that Dan Larimer started. Now, I explained to everyone the process, specific also to Koja. Maybe someone wants to add something before I really introduce myself, or did I explain pretty well the process going on in this small room?
Pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right. So let me introduce myself and what I did. Basically, last week, I worked a lot about joining the new B group that took place on Tuesday. Prior, I joined the week before because I didn't join last week's Saturday group, but the week before I joined the Thursday group that Joshua started, and met great people in a smaller group to get an update. And I was suggested strongly by Joshua to join the Tuesday group, but I didn't have the Zoom URL. So I think I must have spent a half an hour trying to join the Tuesday group and failed. However, I count this as a contribution. And because also parallel to this, what I did is I changed my splash screen on my personal project to highlight the Fractally thumbs up that I give within my own community, encouraging my community to join Fractally. So that's about it. You know, I consider myself on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give myself 6, 7 out of 10, 10 being the highest grade, for helping others to join Fractally, but I failed admirably. So this is my contribution. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Who would you like to hand the baton to?
Yes, absolutely. So let's go with Dan Singjoy, please.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you, Daniel. I have a couple questions that I want to ask you, but first I'll get into mine, then I'll ask my questions after. So I'll share a little presentation about what I've been doing to help fractally and help people cooperate fractally this week. So this week I participated in, I think, 3 of the 5 or 3 of the 4 meetings that Joshua hosted. So Joshua was talking about these, and Daniel also mentioned one of them. But these are great meetings every weekday at 18 UTC. I encourage everybody to join, and we've been having some great discussions there. I also talked about recording and strategy for making great content with these videos with Joshua for a while too. So I'm excited to share more soon there. He's already been sharing the video, so you can watch them there, but we're talking about distribution strategies and so forth. I also hosted the Edencreators meeting, the 16th meeting. There was 14 people there or so, and it was a great meeting. We discussed quite a bit about interim consensus process, which is also quite relevant and quite a fascinating field for Genesis Fractal and all fractal communities. I'll talk a bit more about that as well. And then I posted the video on edencreators.com/videos, as I do, where you can see all the videos from every meeting. I worked quite a bit on Eden Roadmap, which is related to the Eden Fractal and towards making the EOS community more cooperate more fractally and so forth. So it's not super well done yet. I made some art, and I'm hoping to release a lot more this week, but it has lots of initiatives such as, well, lots of things that are quite related and I think will be helpful for all fractal DAOs and so forth, but I'll get into more details when it's more ready to go. Just kind of giving a preview of some things that are in development right now. Over the past few weeks, I introduced a proposal for an interim consensus process in the Eden Fractal called votes. It's kind of similar to the interim consensus process that Dan Larimer was introducing, but also quite different in that I'm proposing that we mint a new token called votes, where people can vote rather than just having a council of 12. This is an interim process until team functionality is worked out. So I proposed that 2 weeks ago or so, and then I've been refining it and interacting with community members in the Eden Discord and the Eden Fractal section about how this proposal can work, and doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Most of the work that I did this week was behind the scenes writing and stuff, and haven't shared much, but there has been quite a bit that's been shared, and you can see some of these on the screenshots. Text is tall, so I apologize for that, but just giving you an idea. I spoke for a while with a developer named Vlad, who works with the Eden Fractal closely, and I'm trying to get him to join the Genesis Fractal. And he built a cool AI art app, and then we made a cool NFT. But basically, we talked for like 3 or 4 hours about a lot of these technical innovations to build fractal governance on EOS. And then I also participated in the chief delegate meeting, where I always talk about fractal cooperation and fractal and so forth, basically promoting fractally towards the EOS community in the town hall as well, and the EOS Twitter spaces. So several events where I promote fractal governance in the EOS community every week. And then this week I also released a new article. It's also focused towards the EOS community, and it doesn't specifically talk about fractal governance, but it's all about cooperating, building independence, and empowering communities. So I'm working to kind of get these words and these ideas in the minds of the EOS community. It got quite a lot of engagement with over 50 likes and a bunch of retweets. And then, yeah, I put it up here talking about why independence is so important and stuff, and also put the Eden Fractal logo in the corner, as well as the Edencreators logo, to help promote fractally and fractal governance and so forth. I also posted this on Bywire News, so people can see it on the blockchain. And then lastly, I did some updates to the edencreators.com/Genesis Fractal page. This is still in pretty early development, but just basically, I was speaking with a friend yesterday about this, and so I wanted to give him a good kind of a landing page in addition to the Go Fractally site and the fractal.com, where I'm kind of organizing some playlists and stuff, some introductory material. Also did the same for edencreators.com/EdenFractal, talking about this as well, where people can learn more. And then lastly, I also updated the edencreators.com/events page to add the events that Joshua has been hosting that I've been joining as well. It's still kind of sloppy, so I'm going to be updating it more, but at least now it's there. Features Genesis Fractal and Eden Fractal, and then all these weekly meetings and daily things here, so that when I tell these to people, then they can, see them easily and join and so forth. But that's it. Hope you've enjoyed. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes. Could you send me a link to the votes token item that you showed?
Yeah.
So I can read up on it. It looked interesting.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. I'll send you a link to that. And then also I have another page that kind of provides an overview of interim consensus processes that you might be interested in. It's kind of a summary, so I'll send you that in case you want to check it out.
Yep. Great.
I've actually been planning to reach out to you, Gregory, about this and some other ideas, because I thought that it might be really helpful. I mean, one, just to catch up and see how you're doing, but then also like I feel like your opinion would be very helpful on some of these proposals. I know you think about a lot. So at some point, if you're available, then it would be great to speak with you about this proposal and a couple other initiatives I'm working on related to this proposal.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here it is, Edencreators votes. Okay, let me just bookmark that.
And there's also a Google Doc that's attached in there too, in case you want to make any comments on it. And it's a little bit maybe better formatted on the Google Doc, but you can find out at that link.
Is that link in this oh, there, Google Doc, okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. All right, and then who do you hand the baton to?
I suppose I'll hand it to Koja. Or I'm sorry, actually, I think I'm mispronouncing your name. You said Hoja without the K? Hoja, okay.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Hoja.
My apologies.
Okay, we start with, can you hear me? First of all?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, last 2 weeks, mostly I spent time to learn how token distributed. And I write to the Joshua, Matt, and Gregory. I suppose Gregory not looked how in the Go Fractally chat. Yes, I wrote to you, but I didn't respond to anything. That's why I kind of read how it's distributed in the article. Yes, article, and I don't understand how it's distributed. Then I spoke with Shahruz because we close to each other, and he reached out to you because we both participated in the Joshua's meeting, and he told speak with Matt or Gregory, and he wrote to you, and after this, we have this data, thankfully, and for both, I'm now rewriting code using OOP. Just I learned it and I'm rewriting it now. And mostly this is all for me.
Okay. So what Hoja is referring to is that Shakruz reached out, as I said in the open meeting, for access to the tally sheet because he wanted to create or his team or whatever wants to create a tool by which respect can be shared to members. And what I explained is, there are certain caveats with that. No problem sharing the tally sheet. More eyes on it, the better. But we make mistakes or changes or whatever from time to time. And so whatever's reported to Telegram has to have that caveat. This is being generated by humans. Data is being collected from Zoom. Joshua puts that data entry into the spreadsheet. Many times when we collect names from the Zoom names, once in a while people will misspell a name. And so we have to go back and go, is this a misspelling or is this a new user? I know of one instance where the names were so similar they were off by one letter, but it was a new user. Or in other cases whereby it was the same user, but it looked like a new name because the first letter was typed incorrectly by someone. We also have Jason Jenkins, who also runs a script to calculate via some automated fashion how he thinks should go. And so between the three of us, we try to collect the information put in the spreadsheet correctly. But when one of us looks and goes, this doesn't look right, things get adjusted. So one change in the spreadsheet affects the distribution for all members. If respect was given to a new member that happened to be an existing member, let's say you have 100 respect tokens, and based on the level that you received, so-and-so gets 8, so-and-so gets 5, so-and-so gets 2 or 3. The minute you remove a member because it's a duplicate of another member, everything gets adjusted. It's a very small amount, but the numbers do change. So all I was sharing with Chacruz, Matt and I were sharing with Chacruz, is there are adjustments, and as a result, any of those adjustments impacts everyone. Matt does it in code, I do it in a spreadsheet, but ultimately when he reruns the code or I make an update to the spreadsheet, everything propagates. Anyway, just giving you kind of a insight information as to how all this does. I can't wait till it gets on code in a chain, but here we are.
All of us really appreciate what you're doing and really thank you for doing this.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm happy to do it. I am grateful for every member of the entire community, even those that will think critically and raise up, question. Well, for example, one of the big, and I'll go to my contributions shortly, but one of the big questions is teams. How are teams managed? Why do they get matching respect? Maybe it should be 20%, or we talk about this internally. This is what we're here to do. It's about there's no elitists. There's no. We're all peers. We all work together. We all need to find what would resonate with the entire community. And so the white paper is, in essence, a mass proposal and open for continued discussion and review. Because the journey isn't the white paper. The journey is the governance model that would best fit our organizations, our communities, our groups, in order for us to best practice governance. Okay, anyway, let me touch on the items I've been working on. You all know that I've been working on the UNA. UNA stands for Unincorporated Nonprofit Association. It was an act that was released many years ago and adopted by 18 states, one of them being Texas, where Fractally is. We believe that by being explicit and defining our structure as a UNA, with all the different things that go into the UNA, explaining that no one person is a representative of the UNA, we're all members of the community. We are not handling any type of property. It explains our governance model as to how we make decisions through several rounds. All that is important in order to provide clear transparency in what we all do and for which we electronically put our signatures with currently on Hive. Second, I wrote a couple of blog posts. One is called A Window of Ongoing Respect, which talks about the update, the Addendum 1 update that was done, with which how respect is calculated. You could miss a meeting and still get respect because of an inertia of respect you may have built over previous meetings. So this window continues to move. It allows for, as James Mart puts, sick time. If you're sick and you can't make a meeting, no problem. You'll still get some respect as a result. Another post I did was avoiding groupthink. We do not want people to be critical. That is, we want them to critically think. It's a big difference. We don't want a bunch of armchair critics sitting back there and going here. No, we want people to think critically, to weigh in on the contributions that each of us are making. How valuable is it to the community? Even with what Dan Singjoy does, he's doing stuff with EOS, he's creating these fractals, but he's practicing fractal governance. He's practicing that model. He's trying to bring it to the EOS community. That's valuable as well. The goal is to understand this new governance model instead of a representative democracy, more of a pure democracy. Again, where visions and values come from the community. So it's very important. Let's see. I'm still waiting for this Metaverse podcast, which Dan was involved with, that Eric put together, and hopefully it'll be released soon. I'm working with other podcasters, touching base with them, trying to schedule more podcasts to put Daniel Larimer on. I don't have anything new yet. And finally, as you know, I co-host these Fractally meetings, work on the tally sheet, and put that together. So that's my contribution. Sorry for being long-winded. All right. So there's a number of ways to do this. There's only 4 of us. Is there anyone that will not be able to participate in round 2 or does not want to participate in round 2, be it time constraints or for whatever reason?
I think just I don't deserve. That's why I'm raising hand.
Well, you don't know. You never know. You know, I mean, if you don't have time to participate, that's one thing. But or if you want to sit out round 2, that's perfectly fine. But I think everyone should try to participate. You know, our goal is to practice this fractal governance in round 1 and round 2, but it's up to you. So if you don't want to proceed to round 2 or you don't have time, raise your hand.
No, I have a time. I kind of feel, you know, just to compare other weeks, what I did, let's say, it's kind of really less. That's why I like raising my hand.
Okay.
So I kind of feel it. Let's see our ranks. Then I will decide, I think.
All right. So there's only 4 of us. Dan, Singjoy, do you have any thoughts on this since you've been practicing this on Eden? Do we just do a normal vote and go through each round, or should we list the 4 and see if we come to consensus with the 4? What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure. I mean, we have had more scenarios because it's a smaller group with Eden where we had 4 people, but we're not doing the 2-round structure there. I see Daniel is raising your finger. Is there something you want to add, Daniel?
Yes, since Gregory is asking the question, I would like also to answer, but finish what you were just about to say, then sing joy.
Okay, sounds good, Daniel. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure if the experience with Eden will be super relevant, maybe somewhat. And then in my experience in these groups in Genesis Fractal, since we have the 2 rounds, it's generally been easiest to just write out the top 3 contributors that we think and then hit enter and zoom at the same time. But then again, I've never done it with 4 people, so I don't know. I'm also curious, it might be helpful. One of the things I was going to ask Daniel was about Daniel's contributions, because before he didn't mention the links or so forth, and he described it, but he did share the links in the chat as well. So I was just looking over those and I haven't had a chance to fully absorb them yet, but I don't know if Daniel wants to speak to this group, the yoga part out at all, to help us understand better. You said there's 12,000 members in this community, and this is a community that you're familiar with, and you know a lot of people here. Am I understanding that correct? Or
Thanks for asking the question. Yes, I did place links to give proof of the pudding in the chat room. So before I talk about those 3 links I sent, just to make sure I understand then in regards to your answer that Gregory sent in regards to the voting, did you say we should just vote like there was 6 of us or 5 or 7, whatever? Or you said we should just go with asking questions, who wants to go in the second round? I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking the question.
I think what we'll do is we'll just list the 4 in our chat. We'll just put all 4 in there. The first 3 are in alphabetical order, and then the 4th would be the individual that would sit in round 1.
Okay, so is 1 considered before A, B, C, Z, or after? Because my username, my handle is Dan1AM.
The member who would stay in round 1 and not proceed to round 2 would be at the end of the list. The first 3 members would proceed to round 2 and should be listed in alphabetical order.
You're not answering my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because there's Dan Sing Joy. So after Dan, which is also my username, is 1. Whereas
Well,
Dan
1 comes
Sing Joy
before.
is S. 1 comes before?
Yeah,
Yes.
1 comes before S.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. And God help me.
Can we write just names?
Well, it's
In the voting,
preferable that
voting.
we put the handles so that we can all post the usernames in the tally place where we were suggested by Joshua. Does that answer your question, Koja?
Yes, because before in the meetings when we do like this, I always write names because it's much more shorter than nicknames, not hive names.
Okay.
All right.
So to answer the question that Dancing Joy asked in regards to the 3 links that I posted, so that I introduce myself a little more, a little bit of history, and once the history has been put out, then I will explain where I am at in the stage of demonstration of different way Web 3.0, whatever you want to call it, community that I have built for the past 10 years. So a little bit of history first. I started Yoga Partout because I'm a yoga teacher, but I studied in film, I studied in information technology, and I studied in business administration. And when I was thanked for my contribution to a communication multinational here in Canada, I already knew that I was not going to be fired, if I use this word very loosely. I knew that I was not going to be let go by a multinational corporation anymore. So I started my own company with a sandbox to practice myself e-commerce processes. So I started my own company called Yoga Partout as a sandbox, and a telemarketing consulting firm named Télé Partout, TV everywhere. So that's the history that I just described to you. And like I said, I was going to explain the history of where this project started. Because I'm a yoga teacher, I choose to talk about yoga and put all the concepts of e-commerce in practice through the TV everywhere business that I started. Now, what does it mean today? Like I said, this is now what I'm explaining to you. What it means today is that this community that I have worked for over 10 years is not a child anymore. It is a young adult. Very soon, I will launch version 3 of this yoga community and give away portion of the community to the members who are paying me to do services for them. And that version 3 will be based on equal animal concepts and have its own token. I will be launching tokens and give them away at a certain percentage that I haven't decided yet. So I'm the sole proprietor, and my objective before 2025 is to give away this community so that all the members can decide and do group consciousness to decide what they're going to do with this yoga community. Did that answer the question, Dan? I'm always afraid that people, because I'm a little bit dyslexic. Did I answer your question, Dan? That makes it clear for you, Koja, Gregory?
Yeah. You know, oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say it makes it clear. I'm still like a little bit confused because it's in a different language, like Spanish. I'm trying to understand it. And then I'm also wondering if this is the first time that you've introduced them to the ƒractal process, but also Gregory, if you want to go first then.
No, it's not, but it's the first time that I put out there fractally. If you look at the second or the last picture in this page that I created, DAO, there is an English tab that I translated because version 3, this yoga website is going through a major remake. I'm investing a lot of money to put this community trilingual. Yo hablo español también. Estaba casado con una venezolana por 16 años, pero antes de correr, vamos a caminar.
Hablas español, qué bueno.
Entonces, the version 3 of this yoga website will and is named Satoshi.yoga. So Satoshi.yoga is a website, and it will sit on top of Yoga Partout. So when people will register to Satoshi Yoga, they will go to Yoga Partout, and this tab that I created is multilingual, starting with English. Did I answer the question, Dan?
Yes, thank you, Daniel. It sounds very interesting. And I love yoga as well, too. So I'm looking forward to learning more. And I think that Satoshi.yoga is an awesome name, too. So thank you for doing this, Daniel, and all the work. And yeah, and thank you for the explanation. And looking forward to learning more and doing some practical yoga at some point in the future.
All right, with the time that we have remaining, let's get into the consensus round. We'll be putting 4 names on here. The first 3 will proceed to round 2 and write them in alphabetical order. And then the 4th individual will remain in round 1 and get ranked accordingly. So when you are ready and you have your list typed in, don't press enter yet. When you have your list typed in, raise your hand. All right, everyone. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, looks like we have consensus.
All
I
right,
think.
we have consensus. All right, let me just, okay, so thank you, Koja. We have to put the first 3 names in alphabetical order. Dan is, yeah, what we'll do, oh, Dan, you have to put @ there.
Yeah,
so
I should ask.
Yeah, I'm going to publish this here on the list here. Please review that and see if that is accurate.
Mine correct.
All right.
Yep,
And we will be posting to this link here, this Hive link. So go ahead and do that. Oh my God, it wants my username and password. Doesn't it remember? When it comes to Hive, it's always is it gonna know? Is it not gonna know? Is it, the Hive signer and the, oh my God.
Same.
Oh, wow.
I had a problem, I think, pre-last meeting with this. I could not find my password.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Fortunately, I find.
When converting from Steam to Hive, and then, well, is this going to transfer? Is it going to matriculate over? And oh my God, it's like, oh God. Anyway, okay. If anyone has any problems with this, let me know. Let's see, it shows we've been practicing here and we've been in this meeting for 38 minutes. So we probably have about 7 minutes left, I'm imagining, waiting for a message to come from Matt. But if Matt doesn't close at 45 minutes, I guess, Dan, I would hit this close all rooms. Is that right? In this breakout rooms thing, I would close all rooms. I guess I would message to all 1 minute or something, let everyone know 1 minute left or something.
Yeah.
But I'm going to wait to see if Matt, who's managing this, see what happens.
I have a question for Gregory, if I may.
Yep, Daniel.
Well, Gregory, in the explanation about this topic that you talked about in terms of service, in terms of service, I call it terms of services, because it's a big preoccupation for my version 3. In Canada, laws are different. And in the US, I think it's more complete. I don't know if it has to do with the internet law that was created and used, has been used for quite some time now, except that obviously I see the government now putting a suing the DAO community members just because they talk within themselves and they say, hey, what's going on here? We're losing control. Le Fonds Monétaire International, I don't know how you translate this, the International Fund, the FME in French. I'm not sure if you know what I mean here, Gregory. Jump in if you know what I mean. There is an international organization that sort of manages and dictates and put laws and regulations in terms of how money is being transacted, must have a word somewhere for them to say, hey, let's challenge them, because if we don't challenge them, we're going to lose control of our economy and the economy will collapse. Did you, and my question is this, Gregory, if you can expand on this, because you've been working on this really hard with Dan, very closely, Dan Larimer. What about taxes? Because the governments, obviously, they want to collect taxes. How does Fractal Genesis terms of services will look like? What kind of contract on the blockchain will be appearing, if you can talk about this and if it's not too confidential? Because, well, the nod for Fractal Genesis, now I'm speaking with Koja, you are aware, Koja, that the nod on the blockchain has not yet even been launched. So Gregory, about taxes, what is your thinking?
If now granted, there's a place and purpose for collecting a tax, and I understand the thought process and principles of that. Taxes aren't incurred by the DAO. Taxes would be incurred by the individual who would convert their respect token into some other currency or fiat. There's been wide speculation. If I convert Bitcoin to Ethereum, is there a tax? Or does the tax only happen when it comes into a dollar, fiat currency? You know, who knows? IRS interprets one thing, Treasury Department and others interpret such as different. But in the way I see it, if you transact in respect and whatever value that has to the community, there's no value to the individual. You can't look at a respect token and say, oh, a respect token equals X amount of dollars. Any tax that is incurred would be when that token gets converted into some other currency or a dollar. And the tax is based on some, say, capital gain. This is a very unique and difficult question, but I think it happens once it leaves the DAO and it is being converted through some exchange or through some bank core, and only at that point would a tax be assessed. So within the DAO itself, there is no tax. It's once it has left the DAO and put in outside that ecosystem, and it is valued by some, fiat currency or governance outside that. That's kind of how I look at it. Does that answer your question? So it's really a responsibility of the individual, not the DAO.
Got it. Thanks. Makes sense.
Okay. Well, I don't see any broadcast message, so I'm going to put a broadcast message out there and say, meeting will, breakout rooms will conclude in 1 minute. And I guess it's a 44. Okay, I'm going to now. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw that message. Did it come up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if Matt does not proceed here, again, this is my first time in the doing this breakout. So Dan, I really appreciate your help here.
You're welcome.
Let's
Happy
see
to help.
Okay. Just wanted to ensure ample no.
While Gregory is communicating with the rest of the group, I'd be interested to hear Koja again, since this is your first public Saturday meetup. Your thought on this?
No,
would
it's
be-
not first.
Oh, it's not the first Saturday?
10 seconds.
It's
Oh,
not first. It's 10th or something like that.
but we're going back to the meeting rooms. All right. I mean, to the main room. See you then.
Okay, cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a 60-second timer, but yeah, we can hit leave.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, it's built in. Got it.
Yeah, well, it's not always, there's a setting. So sometimes when Joshua does it, it goes straight there. He had an issue with that, but I think now it works by default like this.
All right. Thank you. God, I learn something new every day.
Yep. Lots of things to learn about the Zoom and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there is a group of 6. Someone could have been moved from that group of 6 to our group of 4, and then it would have been 2 groups of 5. So I guess the breakout wasn't quite right, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Experience.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all. Thanks, Dan.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
Thanks, Soja. Thanks, Gregory. Great meeting.
Thank you.
Post it when you are ready or when you ask me to.
Okay, I just posted it in the chat. We don't have to jump over immediately. Let's make sure everyone gets back, and maybe I'll have to post it again. But I do think we should move over relatively quickly because it might take people a moment to move over. So we'll just try to have a smooth transition. What I did last week is I made somebody a host who volunteered to continue stewarding this room. So I think maybe that's what we'll want to do. Looks like everyone is almost back.
Josh, do you have somebody? Could you help us identify that person who wants to be our round 1 steward while those of us moving on to round 2 finish up our business before we join them back here?
You can host me, Joshua. I'll stick around.
Okay. All right. I will make you the host, Chris. Thank you. Thank you very much. Second week in a row, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Actually, Matt, looks like maybe you'll have to make him. If you can make Chris, he's under CAC.
Yeah, yep, CAC. So Chris, I'm going to make you the host.
Okay. So in the chat, I'm going to post this link again. This is the Zoom room for round 2. If you're not moving on, you can stay in this room. If you're not moving on to round 2, and if you are moving on to round 2, just for the sake of time, and because I'm not at my workstation today, sure this all works well. If you could click on the link here and move on over to the next Zoom room. I already have it opened up, and we'll see you over there for round 2. And I think what we're going to try to do this week, Chris, I don't know what time it's like, but I think we're going to all try to come back to this room to reconvene in this Zoom room afterwards. Or maybe before we do this, maybe we could get a couple of quick comments. Would you prefer the round 1 participants move over to the round 2 room, or would you prefer the round 2 participants come back? We got some feedback last week that it would feel nicer if the round 2 participants who want to continue chatting come back to the round 1 room.
I think that makes sense. Round 2 members can come back to round 1 room.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I support that too.
All right.
I support that because that's kind of have to go to y'all. Y'all should come back to us.
Okay. All right, well, now is the time. We're going to be starting round 2 breakout rooms in about 10 minutes. So go ahead and click that link and move over if you're moving on to round 2.
Chris, I'm about to head over to round 2. Could you just maybe make sure that people have posted their round 1 consensus on the form? All right, thank you.
Okay, also, Chris, I'm going to mute everybody. We're getting some background noise, and you can unmute yourself, and maybe other people want to raise their hand so we don't have too much noise on the recording.